Ohayou gozaimasu. Welcome back to another banger. I'm back with the daily uploads. Today we're going to continue the 3 solid series with Isekai anime, but before we get into that, YouTube told me 50% of you aren't subscribed, so hit that boy real quick. But back to the video. Isekai anime. I pulled up the Google definition since it's kinda hard to explain, but listen to me on this. Isekai is a Japanese word that translates over to different world, and it is a subgenre of Japanese fantasy light novels, manga, anime, and video games revolving around a normal person from Earth being transported to, reborn, or trapped in a parallel universe. Now, I'm gonna put this in terms that even Beetlejuice would understand.
1 minus 1 equals
35.
An anime can only be isekai if the character goes to a world that isn't theirs, but with that all out of the way, let's get to the first anime. Re:Zero. In my opinion, this is the greatest isekai ever created. It was back in 2016 when this first came out. I didn't watch it at first, but I picked it up later on, but I'm so happy that I did. It only has 25 episodes, and to all the OGs out there, the second season after 4 years comes out on July 8th, and I know we all hyped for that. But onto the anime. Subaru is an average run-of-the-mill guy who goes out shopping one late night at a grocery store, but as he leaves and with absolutely no warning, he blinks and wakes up in a completely unfamiliar and strange world. Even with this being the case, he doesn't panic. Though confused, he goes around and meets a girl named Amelia who has lost something, and he tries to help her find it. Not long after, due to many circumstances, Subaru and Amelia are killed, but he wakes up at the same point of when he first arrived in the new world, and this is when Subaru first discovers that he has the power to come back to life. In terms of stuff that happens in the first episode, I want to leave it there, but I want to discuss some other things that I really like about this anime and some stuff about the side characters and things like that. Like, for example, Rem and Ram. Everybody have seen them before. Like, they really were famous just because they were twins and stuff like that, but Rem... But on a serious note, I really do like these characters. Rem is the one with the blue hair, and Ram is the one with the pink hair. And with these characters, they're not just like normal side characters, they actually have depth to them, and when you see their backstories you can really see that, how they feel human emotions and they actually like seem like they matter. And the thing like with this anime, all the characters are really like built up. They're not there just to be there to take up space, they really matter. Even though they are maids that work for Amelia, they actually have remarkable traits about them that you can actually remember the characters by. For example, Rem is a cutesy, kind type of person, and Ram is a complete dickhead sometimes, even though she means well. If we're going besides their personalities though, I actually like the backstories of these characters. Even though they're somewhat simple, it shows why they are the way that they are and how they interacted with each other throughout the years. Even Amelia, I feel, is really well written. Even though she is a very kind person, she is constantly faced with prejudice because she looks like a witch that has silver hair and is also a half-elf like her. And even with all this going on, she doesn't break her smile most of the time. She tries to keep happy and keep a positive attitude, which I really like about her character. And yes, there's a multitude of other very important characters in the show that are really well written and portray themselves in very interesting ways, but I want to go back to Subaru for a minute and how he changes from a happy, positive person to a completely traumatized and scarred person. And before I delve deeper into Subaru's character, I would like to explain his power real quick. He calls it Return by Death, and basically he gets random save points throughout his life that when he dies, he can return back to that point, but he cannot choose the save point though, at least not as far as we've seen. But in terms of how his mental state changes, you can see at the beginning he's actually intrigued and actually somewhat happy that he has this power. But through seeing the people that he loves and all his friends dying multiple times in front of him and him not being able to do a single thing about it, it definitely took a toll on his mental state, making him really reconsider the fact that if he really wanted this power or not. I feel as though this anime does a good job with everything actually. Good character development, good pacing to the point where it never gets boring, and I just highly recommend checking it out before the new season comes out. On to the next one. Now, for No Game, No Life, and this one is actually another one of my personal favorites. It came out in 2017 and only has 12 episodes and a movie that nobody really watched. But in terms of the actual story, I feel it was executed pretty well, even though they barely covered the first 2 books, but it does pretty well to execute itself in the little bit of episodes that it did have. In this anime, it has to deal with 2 shut-ins, one named Sora, the older brother, and the other Shiro, the younger sister. They are actually, surprisingly, the 2 best gamers in the entire world. They're at the top of the leaderboards in every single game, and they've never lost together, not once. But one day when they're in their home, they get challenged to play chess by a god of another world. They end up surprisingly winning and get teleported into a world where everything is decided by games. To put it in simpler terms, there is no murder, there is no thievery, there is no violence, and any debate that you have with anybody, you have to decide through some type of game or some type of bet. And this is basically like heaven to Sora and Shiro, since they're the best gamers around anyways, and they quickly adapt to the ways of the new world. And also, anytime that a bet/game are proposed, there are 10 pledges that must be followed by all the participating parties. And these are the rules of the world that everybody must follow in terms of their lifestyles, in terms of games, in terms of everything, since gaming is everything in their world. And another very important detail is, in this world there are 16 races, and humans are the weakest since they are the only race that does not contain any magic. But this very negatively affects them, since everything in the world is decided by games. They have very little territory and have very little resources compared to all the other powerful magic races. Even though they cannot technically be attacked, all the other races use their magic to cheat in all the games in such a very small, unnoticeable way that they cannot be called out for cheating. To stray away from the plot real quick, some other things that I really like about this anime, as you may have already noticed, the art style is really bright and vibrant, and some people may think it might get annoying after a while, but I actually quite like it. The backgrounds seem to have like feeling and texture and emotion to them, and I really like that. And the characters all have really nice designs with their eyes and hair and outfits all standing out with the vibrant color designs. Also, with this anime, I feel as though the comedy is actually really good. It has taste and it makes a lot of references that make sense in terms of other anime. A lot of people won't get it if you're not really well cultured and things like that, but they really do make very good use of the very few comic relief that they do have in this anime, and best believe there is some ecchi moments to all the anime fans that understand what that is. And this anime is really short. The light novel goes far beyond where the anime ends, and I don't really have much hope for a season 2, even though people have been whispering about there being one. I wouldn't get my hopes too high, so take it with a grain of salt when people say that there is going to be a new one. But I do recommend highly checking out this anime. It's one of those that everybody should see. It's funny, it has a pretty good story, memorable characters, and what's to hate about it? It's no game, no life. Okay, last but not least, we have Sword Art Online. I'm only going to be talking about the first season because there are multiple series like Gun Art Online, Sword Art Alicization, all stuff like that. But I thought I'd keep it simple with the first season, just simple Sword Art Online. It released in 2012 and has about 25 episodes. And I actually didn't mind it. It was a pretty good anime at the time, and you know, everybody's seen it or at least heard of it. It's pretty popular, but let's get into it. So, Sword Art Online is an isekai in the sense that the characters are going into a VR world. So our main character, Kirito, he actually played this game before. He was a beta tester, so he was the best one in the entire game in technical terms. But everybody in this game, if they die in the game, they die in real life because of the creator. He was the one who made it that way, and everybody is trapped in there, and the only way to get out is to beat the game. And the main character, Kirito, he is known as like a solo player. Most of the people in the game, they try to pair up and go into guilds and teams and stuff like that to have a better chance to survive. But he was always on his own because he feels like he works better on his own and he doesn't want to see any more of his friends die and things like that. But eventually he does team up with a group that Asuna is on, the girl that you might have seen. And they end up getting really close throughout time, and you know, I don't want to spoil too much, but I guess you guys can already see where that's going. And obviously with the first season they stay in Sword Art Online, which is a RPG style sword fighting game, and to be honest, I kinda like that setup. I like the swords, axes, and you know, that type of combat. And I feel like they executed it well in the forms of a RPG VR type of world, because they made it so that certain equipment can give you stats and people have like certain builds and stuff like that, and how they can actually interact with the menus in the game. That was very interesting how they did that, and I actually quite liked that, and it was something I would like to, obviously everybody would like to see in our world, because it was pretty cool. If we're going outside of all that though, the art style is pretty basic and some characters can seem a little bit shallow, but the fight scenes are freaking awesome. I'm not even gonna lie. For 2012 they did a really good job animating this show, and there's some pretty epic and extremely famous moments that came from this show. But overall, to sum it up, because I don't want to make this video too long, this is a very good starter isekai anime. If you want to get into isekai anime, this is a very good one to start with. You know, it's basic, light, and it's not anything too crazy or outside the box, and it's one of the main catalysts of modern isekai anyways, so you might as well check it out. But that's all for today. Johnny.